City of Stevens Point Redevelopment Authority meeting, recorded July 14, 2020.
All righty, it's 3 o'clock and I will call the July 14, 2020 meeting of the Redevelopment Authority to order. Director will take the roll.
Slice.
Here.
Gardner. Gardner, I see your name. Okay, Kneebone.
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
Kemeter.
Here.
Laddick.
Here.
Barrett is excused. John Gardner, can you hear us? We cannot hear you. Okay, for the record, John is on the call. We just can't hear him, so we do have a quorum.
Good. Item number 2, persons that wish to address the board on specific agenda items other than a public hearing must register their request at this time. Those who wish to address the board during a public hearing are not required to identify themselves until the public hearing is declared open by the chair. Number 3, public comment for pre-registered individuals for matters appearing on the agenda. Director, anyone?
No folks that were pre-registered.
No one there for pre-registration?
No one for pre-registration. I do see Ben Noose from MSU is here as well, but he probably wants to speak on item number 10 specifically.
All righty. I will make an exception since that's from AECom, correct?
That's correct.
All righty. Number 4, minutes and actions of the Redevelopment Authority meeting of May 17, 2020.
I move that we adopt or approve the minutes and actions of the Redevelopment Authority meeting on May 17th and place them on file.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Cooper. I'll second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, financial reports, claims, and statements from April 2020. Director?
Nothing significant to report. Would recommend approval as presented.
Do we have a motion? Questions?
Kemeter, I move to approve the financial reports, claims, and statements from April 2020.
Second by Laddick.
Second, we have motion second. Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, helping neighbor grant application for 2301 Laura Street. Director.
Okay, so there was an application received on the 23rd of June within the Helping Neighbor Grant Program. The applicant themselves met all program requirements with the exception that she had already purchased the materials for the project. Typically, we would award the grant and then they would go out and purchase the materials. In this case, they didn't necessarily follow that step. Given that this individual met all the requirements when they applied for the grant, and they did ask for up to $920 for materials for the project. Just given that what they're trying to do to improve the aesthetics of the property, staff would recommend approval as presented for the Helping Neighbor grant.
Laddick makes a motion to approve that grant application for 2301 Laura.
We have a motion to approve. Second, anyone?
Kemeter will approve. I'll second the motion.
We have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, authorize executive director to write off 3 unpaid mortgages for 281 Washington Avenue. Director?
The city had 3 mortgages on 281 Washington Avenue. The previous owner passed away in 2015, and to prevent the city from foreclosing on the property, the personal representative of the original property owner, essentially provided the city the property through deed in lieu of foreclosure that occurred in 2019. Cap Services, who manages several of our zero to low interest loan programs, is seeking to have the redevelopment authority write off the remaining loans as a loss, which is going to be just over $50,000. The city does own the property. We intend to retain the property because there was a 12-inch water main that ran underneath the original garage, actually. And so it was really important that we keep that property because just of the size of the water main that runs underneath it. The house is no longer there. It was burned down through not arson or anything like that or mistake. It was burned down through training with the fire department. So recommendation is to authorize the executive director to write off 3 unpaid mortgages for 281 Washington.
Is there a motion? Questions?
How does that work when the city already owns the property?
My understanding is that this is just clerical.
Okay. So these unpaid mortgages were to the redevelopment authority, correct?
They were actually through the community development authority. I believe the mortgages were originally originated in the 90s, and we were one of the mortgagees on the property, mortgagers.
Okay. So how did the city take title to the property without including the mortgages? How did they not get rolled into that city acquiring the property in the first place?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't understand how the city itself took the property in lieu of foreclosure without having the redevelopment authority involved as part of that. I don't know enough about the history of this property to understand how that occurred.
Sure. So can the city reimburse the redevelopment authority for those write-offs then if it wasn't taken care of in the first place when they obtained the title to it?
Can definitely look into it. I'm not certain though.
Typically, it'd be the city paying back the city, and we've had some of those years ago, and we just write them off because they're not collectible as the auditors look at it.
Okay. All right. So it doesn't affect our checkbook then, basically?
Practically. Right.
Okay.
Senator will move to approve the neighbor helping executive director to write off the 3 unpaid mortgages for 281 Washington Avenue.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Kneebone here, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Director will take the roll.
Place.
Aye.
Gardner. Aye. Okay. Kneebone.
Aye.
Cooper.
Aye.
Kemeter.
Aye.
Laddick.
Aye.
And did Barrett join us?
I did. Aye.
Aye. Excellent.
Motion carries. Number 8, authorize executive director to write off 2 unpaid mortgages for 2917 Water Street. Director?
The city had 2 mortgages on 2917 Water Street. In 2018, the property went into foreclosure. And then after the bank had taken the property in June of 2018, shortly, a few days after, flipped it to Atlas Apartments LLC, who now owns the property and has been using it as a rental. Again, Cap Services is requesting that the redevelopment authority write off the remaining loans as a loss. That's roughly $5,800 total. Staff recommendation is to authorize the executive director to write off the 2 unpaid mortgages for 2917 Water Street.
Discussion, motions?
Yeah, Laddicker, why do we want to write that off when somebody else owns the property? I understand the first one at Washington Street, but I don't understand this one.
Yeah, so we were,
gap or
yeah, so the city, the former property owner, and then another party, I can't remember who it was now, was actually sued by Portage County Bank for foreclosure action. And so we were aware that the property owner was going into foreclosure. I believe because we were second or third lien on the property. We didn't receive any type of money back from the bank that there was too much owed. And so this is, again, just kind of a formality as we look to write off this, or cap services looks to take this off their books.
Sure. Okay, I get it. So we would have had to bid more than what they bid in order to make us whole.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We were actually party to the foreclosure action at one point.
Okay. All right, I understand.
Do we have a motion?
This is Cooper. I would move to write off those two mortgages as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Emmett will second.
We have a motion, second. Discussion. Director will take the roll.
Slice,
Aye.
Gardner,
Aye.
Kneebone,
Aye.
Cooper,
Aye.
Kemeter,
Aye.
Laddick,
Aye.
Barrett,
Aye.
7-0.
Motion carries. Number 10, authorization to enter into a continuing obligation agreement for vapor mitigation system at 1001 Center Point Drive. Director?
Okay, so I believe this is number 9. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
No, this is number 9. I'm sorry. We
Okay,
should go back to number 9. I'm reading far ahead. Authorize the executive director to seek bids and sign a contract for long-term installation of vapor mitigation system at 1001 Center Point Drive.
so I believe Kyle Wagner from AECom was supposed to be joining us. I don't see him on this call, but essentially AECom took, well, let me back up a little bit. So the property at 1001 Center Point Drive is now Mid-State Technical College. It's an open brownfield remediation case. And as the body may recall, is that a few months ago, we had submitted preliminary paperwork to begin the case closure process. DNR reviewed what was the samples that were taken from the Mid-State building and decided that the trend was not in the right direction for them to consider reducing or to consider closing the property out from its open case. So we did authorize AECom to go back in, take some additional samples, and then figure out a way that we could get this property to case closure status. So that being said, AECom has looked at it, said, okay, essentially what we need to do here is have a long-term vapor mitigation system installed. Think of a radon system itself. There's a giant fan that will be installed in the Mid-State building utilizing the existing pipes. And so after conversation, and we made sure we had conversation with DNR as we went through this and Mid-State as well, that if we were to go about this and if we had a continuous vapor mitigation system installed, would that be sufficient for DNR to close the case out? DNR said, yep, that makes a lot of sense. We believe that this is something that we would approve. And so with that, AECom preliminarily went out and looked for what would it cost for us to install this system, and what do we need to do with Mid-State to make sure that someone is maintaining to a minimum standard the system itself. And that's what item number 10 is. So item number 9 is just authorizing the executive director to seek 3 bids from authorized companies to provide us bids to install the vapor mitigation system. AECom believes that this is going to cost somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000. With that, and if it were to be installed and we were to get the agreement with Mid-State, again, we would be looking at a case closure from the DNR for this specific property. Again, I was hopeful that AECom would be on this call. I don't see them on here, but I can try to answer as many questions as the commission may have.
We currently have a fan in there right now, correct?
The system is completely off at this time.
But I mean, is there a fan that's been working on there previously?
I don't believe so. I believe the fan that was in there was removed in 2016 when we shut the system off.
Okay. Laddick, I'd move to approve authorize the executive director to seek bids and sign contract for this long-term vapor mitigation system
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Kneebone here, I'll second.
We have a second. Discussion? Hearing none, the director will take the roll.
Schleiss,
Aye.
Gardner,
Aye.
Kneebone,
Aye.
Cooper,
Aye.
Kemeter,
Aye.
Laddick,
Aye.
Barrett,
Aye.
7-0.
Motion carries. Now we'll go to number 10, authorization to enter into a continuing application agreement for vapor mitigation system at 1001 Center Point Drive. Director.
So this is a continuation of the discussion of essentially number 9 here, but DNR said, okay, great, Stevens Point, we'll sign off on this. We'll close out the case if you include a continuing obligation agreement for the vapor mitigation system located at 1001 Center Point Drive. In conversations with Mid-State Technical College, they've reviewed this document as well. There's no concerns there. They essentially agree that, hey, we'll keep an eye on it for you. If there are issues, we will let you know. Just because the city is the primary party to the system, that we would have to maintain it for the duration of its life, including replacement, every 20 or so years, things like that. But essentially this states that, yep, Mid-State will keep an eye on it. If they notice any issues, they will notify us within 24 hours. Again, Mid-State has reviewed it. They have no concerns with it, would recommend approval as presented.
Any questions?
Laddick will make motion to authorize enter into this continuing obligation agreement for the vapor mitigation system. Same as what we did for item number 9.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Cooper, I'll second.
And we have a second. Further discussion? Director will take the roll.
Schleiss,
Aye.
Gardner,
Aye.
Kneebone,
Aye.
Cooper,
Aye.
Kemeter,
Aye.
Laddick,
Aye.
Barrett,
Aye.
7-0.
Motion carries. Number 11, Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Community-Wide Brownfield Assessment Grant Activities. Director?
Okay, so just a few verbal updates here. We had authorized, or staff had sought to have the EPA grant look into the Shopko parking lot and the possible contaminants under the Shopko building. We were able to get the phase 1, and we are finishing up the phase 2 for the Shopko parking lot. However, the phase 2 for the Shopko building, we are running into issues with the current owner of the property allowing Stantec in there to do some soil borings. So, I mean, we continue to try to encourage them to let us go in there. We've made it very clear to the property owner that we do know that there's a plume of PCE underneath that property. We do know that needs to be addressed. It's in your best interest, it's in the city's best interest to let us in there to decide or determine how much PC is in there and what we need to do to address it as the property looks to be redeveloped in the future. So that's really where we're at. Other than that, nothing else to report on that grant.
Questions to the director? All righty, no action is needed. Number 12, director's update. Director.
Just put a quick memo together for you folks. The downtown targeted area master plan. We did have Vanderwall and Associates redraw the riverfront plan as was the direction of the joint bodies in February. The original plan was to present the updated plan in person, but it is unlikely that we're going to be meeting in person anytime soon. And so we are likely going to have a joint meeting. My suspicion would be late summer or early fall to review and approve the downtown targeted area master plan. 1009 2nd Street, that's the building between Kim's Barrel Inn and the Belkey Lumber building. We did close on that property last Friday. It was authorized by this body and the remaining the city council and the plan commission as well. So we do have keys to that, and we are in the process of getting it ready for winter, believe it or not. We are also looking at possibly deconstructing or demoing the buildings this fall, working with Wanta and Sons on seeing if they would be interested in doing it. And then, of course, having a few other folks look at the cost to demo it as well. As has been discussed several times, the Belkey Lumber building and the Belkey house have been hot spots for squatters, crime, all sorts of issues. And so we're to the point where I think community development's a little fed up with the property and would rather see it just taken down so we don't have to continue to deal with this issue of weekend visitors at these properties. So the city loan program administration, several months ago, we talked about how we could encourage the city loan program to be more utilized. And part of that was trying to find a bank to do some of the administration side of things. We did find Paper Cities Bank was interested. The issue that we were running into on our end was with apparently how our accounting works. We essentially have to send an invoice to whomever. A good example would be the Children's Museum, where we send them an invoice, they pay the invoice, and that's part of the loan. There's been question on what department or how we should go about doing that, and we're still working through that. We are looking at implementing a new permit and code violation software in 2021, and we're hopeful that that's a module that can be added on to that program. So as we deal and work through that, we'll keep the RA updated on that. So,
Questions for the director? If not, no action needed.
Mr. Chair, Alder Kneebone here. I actually have a question, and it may be somebody on the committee that can answer it better than the director. Didn't a year or two ago, there was some kind of a project with the Belkey House to take out anything of architectural or salvage value? And if not, if there is anything that's still valuable to, the American pickers, is it worth coming in, or has that already been done?
So I know that was looked at, and I was in the house a few weeks ago, and nothing has really changed. There's still some really nice pieces inside the home that are still in very good shape. The city would still hope, I think our goal would be to deconstruct the home instead of demo it and see if the materials can be reused. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who's going to be able to do it for the cheapest.
Other questions of the director? If not, moving on to 13, enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, paren 1, paren E, for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session related to the following: negotiating an amendment to the development agreement for 1017 3rd Street, North Side Yard, Farmer Lullaby site, reconvene into open session about 30 minutes after. Do I have a motion to go into closed?
This is Cooper, so moved.
We have a motion to go into closed session.
This is
I'll
Kemper.
second that. Director will take the roll.
Weiss,
Aye.
Gardner,
Aye.
Demeter,
Aye.
Kneebone,
Aye.
Cooper,
Aye.
Laddick,
Aye.
Barrett,
Aye.
7-0.
We are in closed session.
Okay, give me one moment to kick some people out.
City of Stevens Point Bicycle and Pedestrian Street Safety Commission, recorded December 10, 2019.